Hi everybody, my name is Corey Williams. I'm a Microsoft 365 technical specialist with a focus on Microsoft Teams. This session is going to cover live events end to end so that we can walk through the pre-staging of a live event, the creation of that event. Then we can move into producing that event live for our users, and then we'll talk about what you can do post-event. So what are Microsoft Live Events? Live Events is a broadcast platform, meaning that it supports one-to-many or few-to-many type of presentation where our audience has the ability to view what we're sharing, view our video feeds, as well as participate in a moderated Q&A if you enable it. There are a couple different ways you can produce Microsoft Live Events. It can be through our Stream video service, which is basically your video platform. Think of it as a YouTube for your organization. Then we also have Yammer, which you can produce your event and have that stream through the Yammer interface. That production is done either through Microsoft Teams or through a third-party encoder. And then we have what we're going to focus on today, which is a live event produced through Microsoft Teams. And this is the experience where you can provide quick, easy setup and production of an event without having to have a bunch of additional hardware and software. If you are looking for a fully produced event with multiple cameras, multiple mics, multiple stages, lights, all that kind of stuff, you can certainly do that, but you'll want to use either a third-party encoder, a hardware encoder, could be software, and potentially even a production studio unless you have your own internally. So we do give you some options for that, and you'll see those settings. But these live events can support up to 10,000 users concurrently with the ability to potentially support more. If you need a much larger event, I would recommend reaching out to our Microsoft Live Events Live Assistance Program, and they can look and help you scale. Right now, they can actually help you scale up to 100,000 users. So you have some nice, good flexibility there. So let's go in and let's actually talk about how to create that live event through Microsoft Teams. So here you can see I've got Microsoft Teams open on my console, and I'm actually already in the Calendar tab over on the left side. So for me to create a new event, I simply have to go up to New Meeting in the top right corner, click on the down arrow, and select Live Event. Now, as that opens up, we're going to see a couple of options that we can set to pre-start that event, right? So first, let's call it our meeting event, right? So April Town Hall, and we're just going to call this test because I have another event already. We can select the location, so if all of your people that are producing or presenting are going to be in one room, maybe you want to select that for everybody to congregate in, and then we can select our start times. So for live events, you have a maximum currently of a 4-hour-long event. When setting up this event, you might want to set up the time to start a little bit earlier. So maybe we start an hour ahead of time, right? And then let's go and say we're going to run an hour presentation. So we'll have a full 2 hours here. And really that hour ahead of time is to let you get all of your presenters and your production team together, right? So you can talk about how the event's going to run. You can maybe start putting up some entry slide information, but you're still going to really start your event directly at 4. As we scroll down, we can see we can set our time zone. We can provide some details about that event. But the key item on this particular screen is who is going to be the producer, who are going to be the presenters. So in this scenario, I'm just going to actually go ahead and type in one of my coworkers here. So I'll type in Ellie. We'll select her. And she comes in as a presenter by default, right? So I now have the ability to go in and make her a producer if I'd like. And I can also come in and add other folks into this team. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And now we're on our live event permissions stage here. So the first thing you'll want to know is that you can actually restrict this live event down to select people or groups within your organization. So maybe it's a division broadcast and you don't want to share that out, or it's with a research team and obviously that's really important information. Maybe you don't want your entire org to know about yet. So maybe you restrict that down to just those certain people and groups. You have an org-wide capability. So this is basically anybody that has an ID within your organization can log in and view this presentation. A sign-in is required. What's an interesting twist here, let's say you're a main corporation, but then you have some other orgs with other domains inside of your tenant, or you've invited some folks in. You can also invite those folks to this video if you'd like as well. And then the third option is public. So if you want to make a public-facing event, you're just going to roll this out to the wide world, you can certainly do that as well. I personally actually use it for user group sessions we use live events for that. So it's a good flexibility. There is not a sign-in required, but users can still sign in so you can capture some of their information. As we scroll down, we'll see how we're going to produce this live event. So again, we talked about the encoder, the third-party encoder option, where if you want to get a much more rich experience, you could certainly do that. But again, with our focus on a quick production scenario, we're really looking at this Teams setup. So we have a couple of options here. For starters, you see recording available to producers and presenters. So that really enables us to come back and download the recording, do whatever we need to do with it. You then have recording available to attendees. And what that really means is that maybe an attendee joins later, right? The session's already been going for 15 minutes. They jump in like, oh, I missed the first 15 minutes. We give them the capability to actually go back and start from the beginning. So we basically have the recording on demand. So that's a good flexibility to have. That recording also stays available for them to use the link to this production for up to 180 days to again, review that particular live event. You then see the next item, captions, which are in preview today. So we have spoken language, right? In this particular scenario, we're using English. There are a couple of others, I believe German and Chinese simplified are two that we have. And then you might want to translate that up to 6 different languages. So here we're setting up this event. I'm going to go ahead and select a few. So let's go ahead. We'll select Chinese. We'll select German here. And I'm just going to scroll down. You see Klingon right there for those of you that want to have some fun. And then we'll go in and select Spanish as well, right? So we've got a couple of languages there that we're going to produce for this event. The next piece is your attendee engagement report. So this is great after the event to see who actually came in to view the presentation, who was in attendance, how did people leave and move around. If you're doing a public event and somebody comes in anonymously, you're not certainly going to see any information for that particular person. You'll just see it as a blank item in the report. And then the last item here is our Q&A. So this is a moderated Q&A. We'll dive into some specifics as we go through the production of the event. So we've got all these selected. Now we're simply going to go schedule this. So now we've got it scheduled. And we can see the first pop-up that we see is copy this link to send it to attendees. So we're not going to send this invite out to all the attendees in your audience. We leave that up to you to really customize to fit your needs. Could be a number of things. That could be maybe you put it up on a SharePoint page. So that could look something like this event page where somebody can come in, they can add it to their calendar. They can choose to click on the link here to join directly into that meeting. So you get some flexibility with that. This is all pushed through a SharePoint site. Or alternatively, maybe you go and you create an email template that they can use that you could send out so that it shows up on everybody's calendar. It's just basic information you can populate in to fit your particular needs and send that off so that everybody has that on their calendar to remind them to join the meeting. So you have a couple of options for how you do that. Go ahead and grab your attendee link and use that for any type of communications to your organization as a whole. Also on this screen, right, as we scroll down, we can see live event resources. This will populate after the event with all the materials we just selected. This is all, again, getting us started for that event, so pre-event type of setup. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one. Okay, so now let's go ahead and jump into a meeting that was already created. So I've got my April Town Hall right here. We'll just double click on that, click join. Now we can see by default, it automatically muted my mic. So this is really important in case you have a presenter joining late to that meeting. You don't want them to interrupt what's already going on. So we'll mute that by default. We'll also have the camera automatically turned on. So in case that presenter joins and we need to show them in video right away, we can do that as a producer for the event. So I'm going to go ahead and actually click join now. So you can see we joined as a producer. Up at the top, you'll see a couple of messages. So your speakers are muted, right? So if you want to hear what's going on, go ahead and unmute your speakers. You can actually click unmute here to turn those on, right? If your mic isn't live and you are a presenter, you might also get a little notice up here too, telling you to turn on your mic. So you have a couple of options. We can also see a couple of other things that have popped up here. So maybe things like video, of course, that kicking out on you or something like that. It's really giving you those types of notifications. So we'll just dismiss these right now. Again, looking at our event, what we have here today, we already sent a camera feed maybe of Ellie live. We still haven't started the event. So her potentially as a producer or an event could have already done some things like this. but we can see based on the statuses that we are actually not doing a live event right now. So quick overview of the settings here. Up in the top, you've got, of course, your live event name. You then have how long has this live event been running, right? Maybe we haven't started just yet. We're coming in a little bit late, maybe before that 4:30 mark. You can see any attendees that might have already joined again before the meeting started, so you just have an idea of what's going on. This will also change, of course, as the event continues and moves throughout. Then we see our status, of course, pre-live. As we come over to the other side, we can certainly leave this meeting. Again, it's just us producers and presenters right now. But then I have some other options that I can click into. So I can click on this little health icon here. This will pop up and tell me really what are my settings, what's my data look like as we're coming across the board. If you're a producer for an event, highly recommended that you're using an Ethernet connection to ensure you're getting the best, the most stable network to your device, as you will be the person kind of controlling the event. Same goes for presenters. They really should be plugged into a physical network as well, again, just for that stability. So we can see some of our information right here. Those are refreshed every 15 seconds, just to make you aware of that. As I click on the next item, this is our Q&A, right? And so there are some key items to really discuss here. So here under live event Q&A, you see new, published, and dismissed. So right now we know it's open, right? It's already turned on. New is anything that comes in from folks that are participating, right? So they might submit questions. New is only visible to the presenters and the producers. So we'll see those come in. We can also make an announcement. Let's just say this announcement is we will start right at 4:30. Just to make everybody aware, and we'll send that. So now everybody's going to see that. That's going to pop up underneath our published location, and folks can come in, they can like it, they can respond, really whatever they want to do here. And then we have dismissed. So if something comes in, maybe it's not an important question or anything like that, you can actually say new, you can dismiss that, and they'll show up over here for you to go back to if you need to. All right, so we'll come back to this again a little bit later. The next item, meeting notes that you see here. This is maybe your presenters are presenting, you want to capture some information for feedback for after the event, go ahead and add those into your notes. You have your chat. This chat is for communication between presenters and producers. No attendees will see this particular chat. This is very important because once you go live, everybody's audio feeds can be captured unless they're muted. So you have that flexibility. We can actually come down here and change maybe some of that, or click on the person to understand what's going on here. So when you want to have the conversation during the presentation, you would actually go and just type messages back and forth to others that are part of the team. The next item we have here is just to see participants. If you're in this meeting, you can actually see who has joined into your meeting here, not the participants that are attendees. This is really just to show who from your team is here. So if you need to pull somebody else into the team, right, you can actually type them in and pull them into this particular back-end meeting. The next item over is our settings. So again, setting your personal settings for your camera, your mics, whatever you want for this particular live event. Down at the bottom under your settings, you'll see a couple of things. So my live event captions, maybe you want to turn those on so that you're getting that feed coming across. And the next one is attendee live captions. So you want to make attendees be able to see the live captions for the event. So we see here that's on by default. Again, because we had set that setting when we went and created the live event originally. And then the last item over here is just to, again, invite others into your particular meeting. One thing that I want to make sure we point out is that this dial-in information is only for presenters and producers. This is not for you to give to your attendees to call into the meeting. This is really just for your support team. The biggest reason behind not wanting to share that is that the feeds here are 10 to 20 seconds lag on them. Part of that's due to encoding requirements, pushing that out to CDNs to make it available for the best streaming experience for your attendees. So sending them this number is not going to do any good, right? They'll be hearing something, but they won't be seeing the same sync on the video itself. So just something to be aware of. So we'll go ahead and we'll close out of the screen now. And let's talk about these next two items, which are our queue and our live event. So number one, we can add video or content from below. So you see, let's just click on Ellie again here in her video feed. So now we've got this matching feed, right? We still haven't sent it live, but basically we're seeing what the next queue would be to push into this feed. So let's actually take a second and get ready to jump over and see what Ellie's experience might be like. So let's look at Ellie's experience. Now we want to go and share content from her machine. So she's already sharing her video, right? That was automatically turned on as she joined. But now we want to share a presentation. So we'll come to our meetings console, we'll click on our share button, and we'll select maybe a window, which might be the PowerPoint window, or we can just select to share the desktop. When she selects to share the desktop, we see that it automatically pops up with the presentation. So now this content is essentially being shared. Okay, so now Ellie has shared her content with us. We now see this on our bar. Again, you can have multiple video presenters over here, right? We can have up to 10, I believe. Then we have one person maybe sharing their content at this time. So I can click into Ellie's desktop, and then what's going to happen is me clicking there will now put that into my queue. So now we have our queue, and let's say this is actually what we want to present live before we start the meeting. This is really that starter slide, letting people know that, hey, we are here, we are going to start, right? So you might have a whole presentation doing automatic transitions, all that good stuff that you want to send live here. So let's go ahead and do that. So clicking send live again moves that into our live event. And then the next setting I'm going to do is go ahead and actually start this live event. So again, as we're starting this has that 10 to 20 second delay that will be pushed across for the user. So we get that little notification letting us know that's going to happen. We know we can have that max of 4 hours from here as well, right? So we'll click continue. And now we've essentially sent that meeting live. You see we now have yellow and red. Red means we're live and we're sending that content. So as you're sending your content over, right, you're going to see various different things. So let's go ahead and now go look at that as an end user, an attendee. We'll go ahead and let's assume we've already clicked on the link to open up the event. We first get a prompt. So if I am, of course, an authenticated user, it will log me in. Once I click open, I can open that in the Teams client itself. But let's say I'm an anonymous user and this is an anonymous facing event and I want to go ahead and open that event. I can click cancel because I don't have maybe a Teams client on my device, and I can select watch on the web instead. So here we've got the screen, it's loaded in, right in the browser, and we have the option to sign in. Let's say we are an authenticated user and it's that authenticated event and we just had chosen to log in through the web, through an in-private browser or what have you. It would ask you to sign in. Or otherwise you can say, let's join anonymously. So for this example, I'm just going to click join anonymously. So as this is loading, the one thing to point out, you may want to have, the attendee view open in another screen so that you understand what's going on in the event. The recommendation is do not do that on the same device you are producing the event from, because then you've got multiple streams of content coming in, and that could slow down your computer. So if you do want to view the attendee view, pull that up on another device, whether that be your mobile device or that be through another laptop that you might have at your disposal. So here we are in that live event. We can see the information that has been published for us to view. We also see to the right our Q&A. So we see both the featured items that have been published, so whether those be announcements or whatnot. I can go ahead and I can like that if I choose to do so. I can also go ahead and ask a question all the way at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and ask what we want to ask down here. You'll see that your name is optional. So if you do want to put your name in and say who you are, you can certainly do that here. So I'm just going to type Corey. And then I'll go ahead and ask my question. So I've got my question here. One thing to point out, if you are logged in as an authenticated user, but you don't want them to know who it is asking the question, you can certainly check this box to post that as an anonymous question. We'll go ahead here and we'll just hit send. So now that send question is basically gone over into our queue for us as the producers and presenters to view. Okay, so now we're going back to the production view. And what I want to pull out here is the way to change our content, right? So number one, we still have our queue and our live event. We do give you two options for how you format your queue or your production that you want to send across. One is our main content zone. So again, we've got our presentation, but maybe we want to show the video of the person actually talking. So now I might have my multiple presenters down here. I'll go ahead and click on Ellie again, and that's going to go ahead and pull in that camera view for Ellie into my queue. So as you notice, I clicked on the area. Now I've clicked on Ellie to pull her in. So now I've got both my presentation and my video. I have not sent this live yet. So right now, as she's still talking, right, we don't have to interrupt her. we still see this and we want to send that live to our attendees, so we'll go ahead and click on Send Live. All right, so now that content is pushed over. If I go back in and I look at what the attendees got pulled up, right, I can now, again, that 10 to 20 second delay, but I'll see this transition into both having the presentation view and have the video view here momentarily. And there we have our view. So again, we're just transitioning for that content for that user. Something else to point out here, as I'm in here as that attendee, right, I can come down, and as I mentioned really early in this presentation, I can actually jump back and view that video on demand back from this point in time, right? So if I need to rewind, I come in late, whatever, I can have that ability to jump back. I can click live, and that'll jump me right back to the exact point that the broadcast is viewing, right? And so I've just got that information there. I'm now viewing it live. I can also come over here and I can click on my subtitles, right? I can see my closed captions now. They would pop up on the screen so I could see what's going on. So again, we're providing that additional level of capability there. They also have the ability to come in and look at the various settings, right? So if I need to change maybe what captions or subtitles they are, change my playback speed because I came in late, change my quality that I want to view maybe a higher quality or lower that quality because I'm in a low bandwidth area, I can do that. Then I can also go into full screen mode and just see all the video without all the other context here. So that's it for the attendee view. Let's go ahead and jump back into the presentation view. Okay, so now we're back in our production view, and I can go ahead and I can do things like mute all of my folks. I can share my own content directly from my device. But when you've got moderated Q&A recommendation, let's leave that screen open as a producer, so you have that kind of side by side with all the content that's being shared as well. So now we can see our attendee that we were just in, we had a new question come in, right? So the question being, how does all this work? So while we're in this new phase right here, we can actually do a private reply for this user right now. So I can say, Microsoft Teams powers this experience. And I can send that back. And that's just a private message back to that particular user that asked the question. We haven't sent this published for everybody to see. Now let's say we do want everybody to see this information. We can simply come up to this publish button and hit that here. So I'll go ahead and publish this. Right, and now we see that the item's been published. What I want to point out here is that we did not pull over the reply that we had sent to that person. So you may have replied and said, hey, we'll get to your question in a minute. And then once that question's been answered, maybe by an expert in the room or maybe by the person presenting themselves, right? Then they might come back here and say, okay, you reply and say, this was all done through Teams. So then we can go ahead and we can send that. And so now that's the public facing conversation that's happening around this particular question. So again, just a real quick, easy way for how we can manage and moderate that Q&A experience. So let's go ahead and go back to looking at what an attendee sees. And we'll see now that that response would have come across, right? So this was that first my question, this was, hey, this powers the experience, right? This was that private reply we sent to that person. And they can kind of see that here, right? This was your private message. If I go back to featured, I've got that little signifier there saying a new item has been posted. So now I can go and see my question was actually pushed over and that was answered in that location as well. So now I can come in and I can like it, say basically thank you for acknowledging my question. So again, that's that kind of experience for those users. So again, this is really how you can publish that full experience, that event, manage that, and publish the content to others. But let's go ahead and take us to the next step, right? And that's ending the event. So everybody's gone, they've said their goodbyes, said thank you for everybody for attending. We're gonna go ahead and click end now. Once you end, and you get this notice that will pop up to remind you, you cannot restart that event. So go ahead and if you're ready to actually end it, end live event. When you do that, things start processing behind the scenes, your video starts to get created and built out, your transcripts get compiled for sharing at a later point, and now you know that your event has ended. You're still in the meeting with the presenters, with the other producers, so you can talk about how the meeting went, do all that stuff, maybe refer to your notes that you were taking along the time. But once everybody's really done, you can go ahead and leave your event. Okay, so now that we're done with our live event and we've had some time to let it process, maybe we come back the next day to see the details, or maybe an hour or so later, right, after the video has become available. We can go ahead and click into our event. And now as we scroll down, we'll see those live event resources have been loaded. So we've got our recording we can download. We've got our Q&A report we can download. Attendee engagement report, same. Recording for the attendees, right? So this means that's still live for them to come back to that same link for the event and view that, again, for up to 180 days. If we expand, we'll see our transcript, right? And then if we click on our advanced options, we might see a backup recording that we might want to get access to. So again, that one meeting I set up didn't actually have our other language transcripts. Had we actually set it up for that one, we would actually see, our German, Spanish, other transcripts that we could actually download here. And those come in handy as you might want to make that event readily available post-event. So first thing, we'll go ahead and we'll kick off the download for that recording. That will go into our downloads folder. Right, so you can easily go and find that afterwards. You'll see the details down here in the lower right corner that it's happening. And then our Q&A report, same thing. So we've clicked on that. That's downloading. We're going to go ahead and click on our attendee engagement report. That'll go ahead and download. And then we'll just close out of this meeting. So let's go ahead and open up our downloads file. There are a couple of other things in here, but really here are our 3 items that we just downloaded. So our attendee report, our Q&A report, and our recording. So I'll go ahead and open our attendee report. Again, these are just CSV files that you can open and do what you need to do with them. Okay, so here we see our report, right? We see the session ID for that particular user, not really useful for your reporting purposes. We see the participant ID. We see their full name. We see a couple of things here. You can see that this was an event team member that joined. We can see there was an anonymous person that joined, right, with the attendee. We can see when people left, when they joined, all that kind of good stuff here as well. And I had jumped in and out of that session multiple times, so that's why you see me from multiple locations. So again, just getting you some basic information back. When you have everybody being authenticated, you'll see all their details here, so you can easily see who it was and what action they took. This is a separate file. I've just kind of pulled it up for reference, but this is an example of the Q&A report that comes out of that. And I pulled this up to make it make a little more sense for what that might look like. So as you can see here, this again is something where we might have had anonymous folks participating in, as well as their identities. When you first look at one of these reports, right, you don't have any of these colors or associations, so it can be a little bit confusing and misleading as to why you see it. So first thing you'll see is like, why do I have all these duplicate items here? So we can see those being shown. So as we kind of look through this, we'll see like an initial post of a person. It'll have the same conversation ID if you responded in private. So this is where we're keeping those conversations. Let's say somebody had an initial post and we're like, hey, this is a great question. We're going to go ahead and publish it. We see that same content here and here, right? But now we've got a new thread starting because it's been published. So that's how we start seeing the association between the two. So now we can see this was the published post and this was a response to that published post, right? So you can see all that information there. And then the next piece that we have here, just again, breaking this out, there was that unpublished post, that initial post that came in, then the private response to that post, and then I went ahead and published it and then made that public response, right? So again, you see a lot of that capability here for understanding really how to read this report. This first column is not actually something that's included in that report, but you can certainly see that here. Okay, now we've seen our pre-event tasks, we've seen our during production of the event, and now we're in that post-production of the event. So how do we then take what we did and publish that to our masses, potentially in multiple ways for them to actually view the content, right? And so the starting point of that for us is really going in and creating a channel inside of Stream for things like our monthly town halls. So this is where Stream, which is again our video platform, you can think of it as a YouTube style experience, but for internal authenticated users only, is where we can actually create a channel for that. So we've created that monthly town halls channel. We've given it some hashtags for people to type in to be able to easily find it and search for things. And we can see here we have a couple of videos already. So now we want to maybe upload the video we just did from our live event. So we can click on our upload button here. We could drag and drop that file in. I'm just really going to quickly browse to that file in my Explorer view. So this, of course, is going to open up Explorer for us. We'll go ahead and go in our downloads, and we will go ahead and select that particular recording we downloaded. And we'll go ahead and open it up. And now you'll see it be pulled into the screen, and we can set our settings, right? We can rename it from recording to the actual town hall it was, April Town hall. We see it's uploading, right? But we can do all this in the meantime. So I can say town hall is again, my keyword that I want to put on that. These hashtags become clickable items. You can set the default language as already Englished, so we'll actually go ahead and redo the transcript for it, right? You don't have to download that English transcript or default transcript. Stream will automatically rebuild that for us. As it's uploading, we'll be able to come back in here and pick from a predetermined thumbnail, or we can upload our own thumbnail image for it. As you expand down, we can go ahead and choose our permissions. So we're going to already allow everybody in their company to view this video, but I can also come in and I can specify, hey, I want to actually upload this to my monthly Town Halls channel. So I'll go ahead and select that. Now we see that as an option for others to come in here and look at that. You do have the option, of course, to add another user to become an owner for this video if you'd like. So that's the next step there. Then we go down the options, so we can have it pick up people if people were shown in that video. We can actually see a people timeline. We can enable comments directly in stream for folks to add their comments to. We're going to automatically, again, generate that caption file. But then if you want to add other subtitle files, right, you could go back to your meeting, download those other transcripts, and upload them into this as well. So then you might have your multiple languages, again, based on who that user is logged in and their language settings. They could choose those. So I'll go ahead and hit publish for this, right? And so now our town hall event is going to be published into that channel. If I go back, I can go to my content, my channels, and you can leave this screen. You don't have to stay here while it's processing all the changes. And then I should see that video loading into my channel once I go into monthly town halls. So here's our video presentation down here. Again, we've got our thumbnails loaded in, right? So we see what we were starting from. It's a great way to start. Another good reason why having that intro slide is very good, because we'll default typically to that particular scenario. So now folks can actually come in and view this video. They can view it here directly in stream. They could also have the mobile app for stream, which they can have downloaded on their phone, watch it from there. One thing to note, they can download it, watch that video offline, but as it's downloaded on the device, it's only accessible through Stream. They can't copy that video out and paste it somewhere else and upload it anywhere else because it becomes an encrypted file. Again, only accessible through the Stream mobile client, no other file. So good flexibility there. Again, if we have the transcript fully loaded, still processing on the back end, but we'd see the transcript down the side here. If you want to have a follow-up survey for the event, you can actually insert Microsoft Forms into the video for something that get feedback. Hey, was this event something that was good for you? Did you get good content out of it? Those types of things. So you have a lot of flexibility there. Of course, people can like it. They can share it with others. And you add it to their watch lists. So you get a lot of options for that. You, of course, as an owner of this video that you uploaded, can go in and place this video with another one, maybe a more edited version that you might have. You can trim out video content directly from here, update your video details perhaps, right? So if you need to change the thumbnail or you need to add additional subtitles, you can go back and view those details and update those here as well. So again, some good flexibility for creating that. But what's better is that now that this is already in a stream video, I have other methods that I can deploy this out. So next we're going to jump into a SharePoint site, right? So you might have a communication site, you might have a team site for everybody to look at, but you can have a full rich experience in SharePoint. So here on our Contoso organization site that's available to everybody, we've got a page called Monthly Town Halls. And as we scroll down into the page, we've got some nice graphics. We can see here's the most recent event potentially, right? Now that we've got our new event, we can come in here and make that the most recent. We can see the upcoming events for the additional town halls. And if you click into any of these, it will give you links to those meetings, right? You can have that as part of it if they're pre-set up. Maybe you have some spotlight calling out who was maybe in that meeting or who's new to leadership, or maybe a featured employee that's going to be a part of that meeting, right? So you can also pull in things like people spotlights. As we scroll down, right, we've got our meeting archive, which basically points to that stream channel we have created in Microsoft Stream. So again, you can embed that content directly into SharePoint sites. So now I can actually click on this and I don't have to jump out to Stream. I can view this directly in line. And when I do that, I get some additional capabilities, right? I can certainly come in here and I can like this video. I can add to my watch list directly from here. But I can also come back and search for content directly in here, right? So if I go ahead and click on this, I know somebody said the word great. I'll go ahead, type that in, hit enter. It's going to go ahead and search the transcript and then show me what was said around great right at that point. And I can now click on that and jump straight to this section of the video. So again, gives us some great flexibility for, again, not having to watch a whole thing, but maybe jumping to a key part that we are going to find interesting. Now, of course, down here, you see closed captions popping on the screen. You can turn those on or off. Again, go full screen or even jump out to the stream environment to see the video directly inside of Stream. As we scroll down, we can also do things like add in our maybe Yammer for our leadership group we have, and there's a bunch of conversations happening around there. And maybe our video was, again, posted out to Yammer as well. So if we go back to our video settings here, let me clear this out and go back to the actual video itself. I can click on the share button. And when I click on that, I get another screen that opens up that gives me some additional things to choose from. So if I click share, I now have the ability to grab a link. So now I have the option to start that video at a particular time if I want. I can also just copy the link directly from here. I can also go into email and say who I want to send an email to. I can go into embed, grab that embed code and paste it into some other HTML-based site that I might have. Again, the users will need to authenticate to it, but again, I have that capability to do that. So I can also choose to share with Yammer. So if I click on the little Yammer icon here, it will go ahead and it will log me into Yammer. So you can see it automatically includes the link to that. I can provide my additional context. So we're just saying check out the latest town hall. We can choose what group we wanted to add it to. So I might say let's go ahead and post this out to leadership. Right, so I can select that and then click post, and that will go out into our Yammer network and show up now on this monthly town hall page as a new link as well. But people can start having conversations about it in Yammer, and you would see those threads flowing down here. So again, lots of flexibility for how you post that into a SharePoint site. So now let's look at Microsoft Teams. This is another method for me to go ahead and add content into another place where others might be able to view it. So within Teams, I now have added a Stream tab, right, using again that channel that we created in Stream to pull that content in. And again, we have that same capability, the same flexibility to view these videos directly here within Microsoft Teams by looking at our Stream channel. So to do that, simply go ahead and click on your Add a Tab button here, select your Stream button, and then it'll ask you what type of tab do you want to add in. Whether it's a individual video, right? So maybe you just wanted to post the last town hall, or you want to post it to a channel. So you'll have to have copied your channel link from Stream, but in here you'll be able to actually go ahead and paste in that Stream URL right here. You're saying you're posting it as a channel, go ahead and hit save, and then that'll post it to your channel here, just like this. Okay, so here's a tab that's showing us pulling in that SharePoint page that we just saw a minute ago, but removing maybe the top navigation, the left navigation, right? And so now we're just seeing the content, and it's making it a little more engaging for your employees to view. So now they can actually come in here, see the next town halls that are coming, see the spotlight for the people, see what the most recent town hall videos are. So Stream is also loading in here as well. And as you scroll down again, you're just seeing that full rich page experience. So again, to add this into a team, simply click on that tab button again, select your SharePoint tab, select your page that's specific to that, and hit save. You'll also notice here, just in case you've got other channels where you want this same item pinned, you can add a page or list from any SharePoint site now, as long as you have that URL. So you can certainly click into here, paste your URL in, and post that to any channel or team across your organization. So again, that's all we did there to basically add this monthly town hall page directly into our channel. So that's it for the post-event scenario, right? So now we have all this content readily available for our users to view at any point in time through Teams, through SharePoint, through Yammer, and really just gets that message out to your entire organization. So hopefully this was helpful. Please let me know if you've got any other requests or things that you want to see.